Come on. Get up. Come on. Get up here. Get up in your spot. Come on. Get up. Get up, shorty. You're live. You're live, kid. We are live, and I am tired, but I'm here. Sinner or son? Okay. Just refresh this page, make sure it's on mute. How is everyone doing today? I hope everyone is well. I hope everyone is well. Sinner or son, dual reality identity crisis. I don't know if I'm going to get into this one today. Maybe. I didn't know what to put. But we must continue discovering the truth, the full truth, and nothing but the truth. Right? We're getting closer. We're definitely getting closer. But first things first. So today was a pretty cool day, actually. Let me tell you, 4 minutes of the day was pretty interesting. I picked up this girl at one of the university things. I could tell that she was a little distraught. I said, "How are you?" She said, "Oh, not so good." Something like that. Something like that. I don't remember exactly. But anyway, that's all I need. That's the interesting part. I just need that. And I said, "At least you're honest. What's going on?" And then she went ahead and explained it, how she wants to. She's just going home early today because she just is too much stress, this and that. Find out, literally, this is a 3-minute ride, okay? In case you guys are wondering, I'm driving Uber, okay? Picked up a girl. Leaving class earlier than normal, I guess. I don't know. It's the first time I met her. And I'm asking questions. You got to be good at asking questions, right? If you're not good at asking questions, God's not going to reveal you any answers. So once you get good at asking questions, you're pretty efficient and streamlined when you're asking a complete stranger questions, right? The reason for questions is to bring about truth. So she got to talking that she's, about 4 hours away in terms of her home, and I asked her if she's doing this whole school thing on her own. She said, yeah, it's like everything about it financially. Her parents, she doesn't have a good relationship with her parents, pretty much nobody, she was saying. And then she has a boyfriend. I said, so this schooling thing, the pressure, is it because it's just hard? And I said, oh, don't worry, everybody, I take a lot of people, and they're all struggling, right? And so I just start to share with her, from my heart. This is the most important piece of the puzzle, guys. You can't fake it to be a born-again follower of Christ. You can't fake it. There's no way you can fake it. If you have ulterior motives, you can't fake it. It's going to be so difficult for you that you're just going to live this hypocritical, as many have called me, hypocritical life. And you don't want to do that. So when I ask these questions, there's only one motive that I have. I really want to help this person, right? I'm asking her this and that, and then she mentions a relationship, and now, literally, I got 3 minutes to basically come to give her some good advice, right? In that conversation, it was smooth as pie. Just started to sympathize with her, tell her the truth. In essence, I wasn't making her feel good. I was actually telling her the truth that the schooling is. You're not the only one. It's difficult. Many people go through this. She's in her first year of doing it, and it's overwhelming. And then when she misses a day, which she has missed a few days because of pressure from her boyfriend that's 4 hours away, and I pretty much give her guidance. That's what we're supposed to do, guys. Guidance. We're not always supposed to go for the jugular, okay? There's a time to plant, a time to water, a time to harvest, okay? And that's our job, to do every single one of those. But it's not like, okay, let me get a conversion. Let me lead someone to Christ. It's not that. Christ is the answer above all things. Christ is the answer. I mean, when I say he's the answer, I mean the answer to all things. Not just the answer to this particular part of your life, not the answer to that. He's the answer to all things. Anyway, so I got 3 minutes and I'm asking her questions. I'm not rushing. I'm just talking to her and she's telling me and she's opening up like, right? And there's a trust element coming. She's starting to feel better already. And then I explained to her that I'm a born again follower of Christ. I said, you know who Jesus is? And she understood. She knew who Jesus was. We got close to the end of the travel. I pulled over and I had her attention. And I was just sharing with her that, you know, this low point, this is where everyone must go. As a matter of fact, I said, this is a golden day for you. As a matter of fact, you don't know it yet, but this is the point where we must reach. Okay, I've been there. I've done that. I said to her, you know. So when bad things are happening, when things seem overwhelming and stuff, you can look at it in terms of what it potentially might be, or you can look at it for what it is, the truth. And I said, God uses us many times and things come across our way to bring us to this particular level. And I was starting to get joyful. And you could see her expression was starting to turn around as well. I said, so when you go in there today, because I didn't do it, it's not like she did it right there in front of me, but I said, when you go in there today, I want you to sit down or go on your knees or do whatever you want, but I expect to see some tears. Let it out. Let it go. Let it out, let it go. And ask the Lord God to come into your life. Actually, I didn't say it that way. Sorry. I said her the perfect way. I said, you got to give your life to Christ. You got to give your life to God. And I'm telling you, he's going to come like this. There's no question about it. And when he does come, your life is going to completely change. But I want you to go in there into her house, right? Because I just dropped off. This is like a 4-minute ride. I had to find out everything about essentially what's going on. Give her guidance in between there, saying, you know, the boyfriend's 4 hours away. I don't know if he's for you. I don't know if he's toxic. I don't know anything about that. What I do know is you're here at this point, and I'm in this car with you at this point for some special reason, and I'm telling you the honest truth. The position that you're in is a good position. I'd love to see many people in that position. Because if you're not lacking, if there's something that is not adding up, if you feel all alone, if you feel there's no one on your side, well, that's the beginning, guys. And that's what I told her. I said, that's the point whereby all humanity must reach if there is any chance of saving you. And so I told her that. I said, when you go inside, I want you to belt it out, let it out, cry, 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 and then ask God. Okay, give your life to God. Just give him your life and say, I don't know what I'm doing. I want help. I need help. All this stuff. And I said, and if you do that, he will answer your prayer. And that's all it takes, guys. Now, she went in. Before she went in, I said, can I get a hug? And she instantly, I'm reaching over the back seat. So I'm grabbing her and holding her. And I felt like a precious moment. There was a moment there. There was a definite moment, and I looked at her, and she had a smile on her face. This is the power of Christ. This is what you're called out to do. Okay? So it didn't happen in my car, but it happened. I'm almost positive. I can't tell you for sure, because I'm not with her. But I put her in the proper hands. Let's put it that way. So it's, you don't have to do it all. You just have to do some. And that particular moment, it was harvest time. And so I didn't waste any time but to lead her to the king. Okay, because there's nothing I can do. But the king can do it all. Right? And that's where I led her to, and it felt great. I felt awesome at that moment. And I thanked the Lord God after I dropped her off. I thank God. You can see me, just talking to him, worshiping, thanking God for his for that opportunity that I can be part of it. And then I got to thinking, what's this FLOh about? Well, we know what FLOh is. It is much more than what a lot of people perceive. They don't understand this, and to be honest with you, I don't fully fathom it as well. There's so much elements to it. But I definitely want this to be a ground, and this is why I consistently focus on the doctrine, because listen, guys, if everybody's on a different page, how can we read? If everybody's on a different page, how can anyone agree? If everyone's on a different page, how is anyone united in getting the message across? Right? So I'm very adamant in my questions to God that I want the original doctrine. I want to have a message whereby everyone that comes to this channel will get the right message. Okay? And everybody's on the same page. And I got to thinking, I want to make FLOh the place to go. Like I don't know, I wouldn't recommend her to go to your local church. Like I don't even like I said, guys, I don't go to church. So it's like go to this particular church. No, this is why I want FLOh to be the forefront. When you guys, when this starts growing, I want people to go ahead and do exactly what I did, except don't end it there. It's awesome to put Christ in the picture because he's going to take over from there. But the point of FLOh is to make the discipling, the following, right? The second part of this, right? There's born again, and then there's follower of Christ. And so, like I said, anyone that comes across this channel is going to get a jump start in terms of progressing in their life, in terms of walking in the Spirit. I got to get out of that for a second. So, the whole game, the picture, the intention of this is again to have a community of believers that are on the same page. That potentially I could have gave that girl. What do I do? What could I have done? Oh, by the way, go to a FLOh #FLOh Life, right, on YouTube and subscribe. It should be a more even, more fluid delivery because we don't have a lot of time. So I was thinking the QR codes, right? Find a QR code, a picture of something on the screen of my, just pull it up and just, here, click this. And then what ends up happening is that they go directly to the channel. So I don't know if this, I want to throw something in the chat. If you guys can just go, I want you guys to just, first off, tell me what this says here. If you go there, does that actually, yeah, if you click that on the chat, click that on the chat, tell me where it goes. Does it should lead you to my channel, right? FLOh channel. But I got so many things on the end of that link. I don't know if that's correct yet. But what it should do is actually open up the actual subscribe button so that the conversation could go like this. Think about this for a sec. Every single person that we got in FLOh.life, every person that's here that participates in this, okay, you guys are part of it. Like I said, it is just not me, my God. First we have God, okay, and he is revealed through Jesus, right? That's how we understand it all, okay, because we wouldn't have understanding. He sends the Holy Spirit. Now we have a deeper understanding. And then we share this with others. But see, it would be easier, not easier, but I want it streamlined so that everyone that is in here, it's not just this live stream of me talking blah, blah, blah all the time, or even in the chat. I want to put, like I said, multiple cameras, one in your living room, one in my living room, etc. So when people come here, they can just experience something that is a church-like, because I can't recommend any church to anyone because I don't believe in half the stuff that they're saying. So, I wouldn't do that to someone because they might get caught up in religion. And I'm not interested in religion. And I'm pretty sure Jesus was not interested in religion as well. So, essentially, I want like a picture. So what I did here is, give me 2 seconds while I want to generate this code here for a sec. I don't know if that's the proper thing. Yeah, so what I'm going to do, hold on a sec. If you guys go to FLOh.life, you know that, and you type in the search bar QR code, it'll show you how to make a QR code. But I just think that most phones nowadays, hold on a sec. What is this? I'm in the wrong thing. Give me 2 seconds, guys. There we go. most phones nowadays has the ability. I'll just show you where I'm at, okay? So I'm just going to generate this QR code. I'm just going to type in here. I'm just going to throw in the thing here and confirm. So if you guys are watching, I'm not sure where you guys are watching this. If you're watching this on your computer or whatever, grab your phone if you've got a phone. And then I want you to go to the picture where you take pictures. You know, just the camera, camera. And then I want you to just hover it over that QR code. And that link should open up. Let me see here. Yeah. So it opened up to me, but I'm logged in, so I can't tell you if it's not logged in. In other words, on my phone, you can see it right here. See, it sent me there. So this is a picture that you can actually have on your phone, and you just show people. Right? Let me explain this for a second. So this QR code is simply a picture. Instead of saying, hey, go and subscribe to this channel, do a search, FLOh.life, etc. Because the reason for them subscribing to this channel is because they're going to be discipled, guys. Okay? They're going to be discipled. They're going to know the carnal mind. They're going to know exactly where they're at, the struggles that they may be having, how to walk in the Spirit. All the stuff we've ever discussed, it's the doctrine. So instead, it doesn't matter where they're at in the world. We bring them to FLOh.life, right? This channel, FLOh, and they get discipled because we have live streams, we have videos. Usually I will do like a video a day, short video. So they'll be in a circle of believers, followers, okay, of Christ, that are sharing the same message. That's what it means to make disciples, okay? But it should be something whereby you got that picture on your phone, just a picture. Once you get that picture, the QR code, you just take a picture of it and you save it, and then you just simply, boom, just point your camera to this, bang. Once they point, it should open up the subscribe button, but if it doesn't, the worst case is that they simply subscribe. But that's designed to open up the subscribe button, so all they have to do is click subscribe. Comprende? You guys following? Awesome. You guys better be on the page here. And if you're not, I don't know what you're doing here. Unsubscribe. Just unsubscribe. If you've heard all these videos and it's not making sense, unsubscribe. I don't need you here. I'm looking for warriors, soldiers, partners. Okay? It's not me. God. This is God. I'm doing work for God, and this is it. So we're looking for people who actually want to do something instead of just going and listening to videos and just feeling good about themselves. And that's not the point. God wants you to do his work. What's his work? So that you may be the light of the world. The world is in darkness. Okay? For example, that girl today, she was in darkness. She was in a low point. And if there's no light, then she might do things that are contrary to her. Okay, so we're the light. And so when she walked into that car, I'm the light. That's what I'm supposed to be, the light. And by the end of that little trip, it was only a 3 or 4 minute trip, she got some light because I share the truth. I share the good news. What's the good news? I told her, this is probably the beginning. That's what I told her. So here she is thinking that everything's just going to, you know what I'm saying, everything's just going completely wrong. She's got nobody. And there's a complete stranger that says, hold on a sec. Have you thought about God? I didn't say it like that, but it's like, wait a sec, you got nothing? Perfect. That leaves only one, God. Have you tried him? Because that's exactly where I was at, okay? Can't speak for you guys. I don't know how you guys were born again, but for me, it wasn't like I was seeking God. It was like God was everywhere. And then at the end of it, that's all that was left. I think that's for a lot of people. So, you know, and that's the bottom line, guys. That's what you're supposed to do, okay? So I want FLOh to be an extension of you. So when you say some good words to somebody, you want them to be participating in a place where they can just log on, or just once they're subscribed, they're going to get a notification and they're going to be part of this where you guys are right now. And they might be able to ask a question, right? And when they ask a question, we want to give them an answer, a gentle answer. See, it's good news that we share, right? We don't condemn people. It's good news. But those that come in here mocking and testing, right? I got to be very patient with you because my patience isn't that high, right? I need more fruits of the Spirit. But you build my patience. But again, I don't know if there's an out for you. That's my point. Now, if you come with an open heart, isn't that what Jesus said? Open your heart. Like, right? So that girl was not looking for anything. She was just at a low point in her life. Today this happened. Thinking about giving up, period. Who knows what would come out of it next? All I know is I pointed her in the right direction. I pointed her and emphasized to her the right direction. I wasn't scared to ask questions because that's what I was doing. That's all I do all day long is ask questions. I ask questions to God all day long. When someone comes in the car, usually there's a conversation, unless I feel like it's a relaxed situation, but usually there's a conversation. And it's just a conversation about them. I'm not chasing after them and trying to get them to convert. I'm not looking like that. I'm just trying to help them weave through life. Because a lot of these kids, especially the kids that I take, they're university students. They're not sure, and they got a lot of pressure. They're not sure what they're going to be and what they're going to do, but the university has no problem taking all their money, right? So you guys know I can see it for what it is. I mean, the university is one of the biggest money makers, establishments that exist. Anyone will tell you that. Okay, so I wanted to share that. That's awesome news. Anyway, nobody helped me there with the QR code. Appreciate you guys coming out. Anyone can do this, saint or sinner. I don't care what you are. Did you guys get an opportunity to hit it with your phone? Can I get some feedback? Anyone, just say it worked. I'm not your subscriber, but it showed that I could subscribe. I don't know anything. Just do a little bit. I know it's hard to come out of your shell, but it's okay. Anyone, I don't care if you're part of this channel or not. Just participate. Don't just sit there in the sidelines, Participate. God requires us to participate. If we're just in the sideline watching videos all day long and seeing if that doctrine is good or this, I don't even know where you're at. Maybe you don't even believe in God. Like there was a comment today that said, I don't even know. I deleted it like this. Why? Because he said something about, I don't know, God is fake or something. Just something like, it's like, what? Reading that shit? Delete the comment. Not interested. What's that for? Who's that going to uplift? Nobody. Because it's a lie. Sinner or son, dual reality, identity crisis. This is the truth, guys. You got to know what you're at. So, yeah, we were reading Genesis. We kind of hit upon it. I said identity dilemma. I think the right word is crisis. A dilemma, crisis. I think it's pretty much the same thing. So let me just repeat here. Look at this. I'm going to repeat it. Because we're dealing with Cain. Right? So we did Adam and Eve. Still, it's not 100% complete. Like serpents. What is this? Satan? Serpent? I don't know. Still a little bit like a bit of a story there. There's a bit of a story. You can't kind of... He's talking to the beast of the field on the ground. You should go and eat sand, right? And I related it to flesh, right? Earth, etc. Makes sense. It's all flows nicely. And then we have the fruit of that seed that just came out, and his name was Cain. The fruit of that seed just came out. His name was Cain. And then God is trying to help him. Right? And he said, Genesis 4:6. And the Lord said unto Cain, why art thou wroth? Burping and stuff because I just literally got home, ate, showered, came down here. And why is thou countenance fallen? If thou dost well, shalt thou not be accepted? And if thou dost not well, sin lieth at the door, and unto thee shall be his desire. Who lies at the door here? Sin. And what does he want? Desires flesh. Well, let's take out flesh because it doesn't say flesh, but it desires you. That gives sin a whole new outlook. And thou shalt rule over him. Rule over him, it's even stated. Cain was feeling something, and it was building up. And then God's helping him and saying, hey, if you do good, you'll be accepted. But when you don't do good, sin lieth at the door. Notice how he didn't say. Notice how God didn't say. Look, I'm going to repeat that part because it's important. Look at this. If thou dost well, shalt thou not be accepted? Listen, break that down. If you do well, won't you be accepted? It's not a question. If you do well, you will be accepted. And then it says, and if thou dost not well, he should have said, you will be rejected. If you do well, you will be accepted. If you don't do well, you will be rejected. That's normal conversation, but God didn't say that. He said, if you do well, you will be accepted. But if you don't do well, sin lieth at the door and desires you. But you must rule over him. Sin is a living thing, or shall I say a dead thing? Because the wages of sin is death. So basically sin produces death. So if sin produces death, that means sin is death. So sin is not light, but sin is darkness. Sin equals door. No, sin at your door. Okay, but sin would be darkness to me. That would make sense because there's no light in sin. Where did sin come from? Came from the liar and the thief. Right here, look. Steal, kill, and destroy. That's where it came from. That's the seed that came from. So that seed was implanted where? That's the question. Where was it implanted? I believe it was implanted in this. I don't know still yet. I don't know if it's implanted in the carnal mind. But one thing's for sure. That seed is there now. And it wants to grow. It wants to overtake you. It wants to overtake you. I want you guys to listen to the words. It desires you. Its desire is for you. It wants you. Hold on. And unto thee shall be his desire. Sin lieth at the door. Okay, so listen, we covered this already, okay? So Abel didn't give the best deal, right? So it wasn't accepted. God says, if you do good, will you not be accepted? So that would mean God could have said, if you do wrong, then you will be rejected. But this is not a conversation that God used. He said, if you do wrong, sin lieth at the door. It's not there yet. It just wants to come in. Right? It just wants to come in. It's not there yet. It just wants to come in. Right? So this anger that's building up, this countenance, sin has not come in yet. Or else God would have said, sin has overtaken you. No, he's saying sin is lying at the door. So think about it. His countenance dropped. There's anger building up, and sin is lying there, ready to pounce on him and overtake him. He's just basically saying, like he did with Eve, there, take a bite, take a bite, take a bite, right? Because remember how it was desirous. It was desirous for Eve, right? The fruit was desirous to make one wise. This is where desire comes into play. This is where desire comes into play. And so this desire is like the same thing. Remember, before Eve, now she said touch the tree, touch the fruit. Let's say she didn't touch the fruit. But Satan or whoever it was, the evil force that was there, was creating a desire in her to cause her to take hold. And I guess according to her, if she touched it, she's dead. But she took a bite, that's conclusive. The same thing is happening here with Cain. So he's feeling this thing, he's feeling it, right? But there's no sin committed. But sin is at the door. It's ready to pounce inside of you and on side of you. So this is a conversation that's definitely, this is God helping Cain. Because he says, if you do good, you will be not rejected. I don't want to use improper words, but shall thou not be accepted? If you do well, you will be accepted. And if you don't do well, you will be rejected? No, that's not what he said. If you don't do well, sin lies at the door. It's almost like God is saying, you don't understand. As a matter of fact, this is the truth. In case you guys were wondering, I'll break it down for you. Very simple. See, this whole thing is it's do the will of God, right? Do the will of God. Do the will of God. Do you know that he created you in his image? Do you know that if you do the will of God, you're doing yourself a favor? Do you know if you do wrong, then you're not doing his will and you're contrary to you. So doing God's will is what's beneficial to you. If you don't do his will, this is what happens. Sin lieth at the door, and it wants to overtake you. So it's a dilemma or a crisis. We don't get the identity part but this is, take a listen what he said. He says, and it wants to overtake you. Look. And unto thee shall be his desire, and thou shalt rule over him. Sin is, you could say, a living thing, but it's not. It's a dying thing. Because you have light and then you have darkness. So sin is, the best example I could probably share is what I said, like a virus. That takes a hold, like, we don't have microscopes to see this that great, but I mean, if God is to reveal it, we've seen evidence of biology, guys, where these cells are, mutated or whatever, and they're different color or whatever, they're dark or whatever. Like, we don't see what's going on, but here's God explaining it as simple as he can to babies, us. We're babies. And so he's saying, if you do well, you'll be accepted. But if you don't do well, sin, not God, God is not rejecting you, sin lieth at the door. And what's it want to do? It wants you. Its desire is for you. Let me repeat it because I keep forgetting. Its desire, and unto thee shall be his desire. And then he's saying to Cain, and you should rule over it. So what happened? He let the sin in. Or shall I? Did he let the sin in? No. Let me continue reading. We got to break it down perfectly. Cain talked with Abel his brother, and it came to pass when they were in the field, and Cain rose up against Abel his brother and slew him. Let's think about this for a sec. Sin lieth at the door, and his desires for you. When the sin comes into you, you become the arm, you become the extension of that sin. Therefore, you do the physical reality of that which was trying to be conquered in the spiritual realm. Sin is not light, it is darkness. Which Jesus said that darkness is a light. If the light be in you darkness. So you can say absence of light, or it is the light that where it is dark. Nevertheless, this enters into the human biology, the human whatever, however it works, chromosomes, right? Chromosomes you break down, and then there's G nodes and nodes and all this other stuff and DNA, and it's all part of you. And if you were to look at you, you would see that you're just made up of all these little living things. You're not even like, we're sitting here like combing our hair and looking pretty and stuff, but man, you're made out of like, you are a collection of many, many thousands and millions of little pieces. So when this comes against, when this thing that is not of God comes into you, it produces the seed. But more important, it's not only against God. This is the key. What I'm trying to get to, it's not against God. It's actually against you. It's against God, but it is against you because the two are one. In other words, you were created in His image. Forget about being born again and all this stuff. No, let's go to the beginning. The breath of life. Okay, the Spirit. You're created in His image. Therefore, you must replicate the way. And if for some reason you don't live according to the way, then what happens is inside you, sin starts to manifest. And where sin manifests, it's darkness, and it will grow. It's like a virus. Okay? And so it'll drive you potentially. I'm just talking out loud. Because this does relate to the double identity. Because the title is Sinner or Son. Dual reality identity crisis. So this identity now, it's you got to remember, if you're being led by the carnal mind, if you're listening to the carnal mind is just trying to make sense of things as quick as it can, put things in a box as quick as it can. Not always is it right. Most of the time it is really wrong. Completely wrong. So much so that the things of the world you could probably do opposite and be on God's path, on God's side. That's how wrong it is. So it makes these assumptions in order to function. Remember that word, function, in the world. So we got a bunch of people functioning in the world, but inside, there's two elements to you, right? You have the mind, and then you have a heart, which has a mind. So you have this carnal mind, and then you have the heart, which has a mind of its own. But if this takes over, then this one here doesn't get the nourishment it needs. And so this is the dilemma. I'm asking questions and talking at the same time because I want the truth. I want to know exactly what happened here. But there's a dual identity. In other words, there isn't a dual identity, but you have a dual identity. There's only one identity. Okay? And that's the core identity. Okay? We talk about this all the time. The core identity is the truth. And this dual identity, this other image of you is what you call a virtual reality. And that one takes over. So the physical sense, the whole world, okay, everything is spiritual first, then physical. And this physical reality, I've said it over and over, is the virtual reality. It doesn't exist. Okay, it does exist, but it's virtual. You would think that's all there is, but all of a sudden the game is off and the lights go out and there's nothing left. So you have this spiritual reality which will continue on and on and on and on. And in this body, which is physical, basically it's all like a physical, virtual reality. But if you live in this virtual reality and that's all you know, okay, this might be too deep for some of you. I don't know. But if everything that you see and hear and touch and all that stuff is the only thing that's real to you, then you're lost already. In other words, your identity is based on your physicality, which is based on the virtual reality. In other words, what you think you are is what you are, but not truly. It's just a physical manifestation. What you are truly is deeply in your heart. And that's the crisis between men. That's the big crisis. Right? We think and we learned everything that is up to what we see, feel, touch, etc. So there's nothing beyond the physical. There's nothing beyond the physical. Take this argument and tell me that this isn't the biggest issue that's going on right now, period. That's been going on since the beginning of time. It's this struggle between the carnal mind, which that's all it thinks of is physical, okay? And the spiritual mind, which is in you, buried and has no voice. But now, thanks be to Jesus, it has a voice. And everything's coming into straight alignment. But a normal human being, okay? Right here, look. You are gods. Ye are gods. Children of the Most High, but you will die as men, because they perish for lack of understanding. What is this understanding? The knowledge that they're getting in their brain, the knowledge of all these things that we talk about, all these words and all the stuff that you learn on YouTube about this and that, biology and chemistry and all that stuff. Those things are a revelation of what's really happening inside. But if you think all of a sudden, if your focus is simply on the things that you see and touch, such as, scientists get in this trap easily, because all they do is they have to see it in order to have conclusive evidence that it exists. But that is not truth. That's not reality. Reality is one level deeper, and that is the spiritual. Okay? So what are you? The question is, what are you? Well, I can't believe in God. No kidding. Obviously, you can't believe in God because you're stuck here in this carnal mind. This dilemma, this warring thing that is overtaking you. Remember how he said, it wants to overtake you. What wants to overtake you? Darkness wants to overtake you. What is darkness? Darkness is not being in the light. Darkness is not being enlightened. Darkness is not seeing, hearing. This is what Jesus repeated over and over. So to break it down real simple, don't sin. That's real simple. Don't sin, because if you're sinning against yourself. Oh, you're sinning against God, but you understand that you're sinning against yourself. Now, do we sin sometimes? Yes, we do sin. Is it against us? Yes, it is against us. But why do we do it? Because we lose focus on the truth. Our carnal mind slips in there, and its desire, the sin's desire, is it desires us. And all of a sudden you're in there, and you lose your focus on truth, which is in your heart, and then you get involved in this mind-to-mind deal, and you're going to lose every single time. Even if we win the argument, you're going to lose. So this following Christ is following Jesus. It is it's not something that you can force. It is something that you must submit to. It's not something that you can just put, I'm just going to crank it down and I'm just going to bear onto it. No, it's something against counter against the way you normally do it. It's not putting your mind to it. I heard video today actually. Anyway, I made a comment again on that video. Again, not to drive the brother down. I actually said, this is not against you, brother. But he was saying basically that he was somehow like, he wasn't sure, or was he? I wasn't 100% sure what he was saying, but he was saying to keep track of the last time you sinned. And my comment was so bold, like so in your face. I said, this, no offense to you, my brother, listen to me very carefully. That is the stupidest thing anyone has ever said. You're keeping track of the last time you sinned? I'm not saying he was doing, but it was something he was talking about. And I wanted to cut it right there. I wanted to make sure no one saw that, what he was saying, and actually thought about it. It's like, cut it right down. Cut the tree right down, I did. I said, that's got to be the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. Keeping track of the last time you sinned. So your mind, which is not mine, actually I said heart, right? He said it's a, what did he say? He said mind, what did he say? Hold on a sec, I'm going blank. The world teaches us to, what's the word I'm looking for? How can I go blank like this? Mindset. Wow, such a complicated word. He said you have to have the proper mindset. And I said, no, it's got nothing to do with the mindset. It has to do with spirit set. Okay? You have to have the right mind in your heart. And it has nothing to do with this. It's not mindset. The world will tell you, you have to have the right mindset to get... The mind is the problem. Get out of there. The mind should be numbed and get down to nothing. So your mind should be Christ's mind. Your focus in your direction should always be getting closer to God. You should never be thinking about your sinning. You should always be thinking of God. And the closer you get to God, the farther away your sin comes from you, the desire, etc. But keeping track of the last time you sinned, that is absolutely bringing the sin to the forefront. And it's always, even if it's not in the forefront, it's always in the back of your mind. When's the last time I sinned? That's not how God works. Not at all. Because see, he said if you do good, you'll be accepted. And when you don't do good, sin. He's not even part of this equation. If you do good, you'll be accepted. If you do bad, you'll be rejected. He's not even part of this equation because he said sin is lying at the door and it's desire for you. This is another animal, guys. This ain't God. This is someone else. And you must rule over him. So, the more you sin, the more you're condemned. The conscience was awakened when they took a bite of that thing. Tree, whatever it was. Boom, the carnal mind is awakened. When the carnal mind is awakened, I should say the conscience was awakened. That's what I believe. When your conscience is awakened, you know good from bad. He's talking to Cain here. He's giving Cain some advice because he knows good from bad. He said, when you do good, you get accepted. So Cain is the one that he's starting to teach how to handle now that the carnal mind has been, the conscience has been awakened, and now you are able to understand good from evil. Now what? He's saying, if you do well, everything's good. As long as you do good, you're good. There's nothing to worry about. But when you do something that is not right? And this is not a transgression. Remember, he just gave an offering. But in him, he didn't feel like it was, he knew that it wasn't good what he was giving God. It wasn't, he could have done more. There was something there. In other words, his conscience, hey Jeffrey, change the picture. In other words, his conscience was starting to condemn him. What is conscience was starting to condemn him. And he said that sin lieth at the door, and its desire is for you. Right? So what does it want to do? It wants to condemn you. So, 1 sin, 2 sin, 3 sin, done. You get it? I am now a sinner. You get it? Your identity is shifted. What's the point? Let me take a drink. What's the point, man? There's no hope. There's nothing. All of a sudden, you're going deeper and deeper. Why? Because the darkness that's in you, the light that's in you is darkness. And it's overtaking. Like, I wish that we could actually see this stuff happening. But this is it. I believe there's something that, whether you can see it with a microscope, telescope, whatever it is, it's happening inside you. There's a real thing that's happening. And darkness is overtaking you, who you are. It's not light that's coming out, it's darkness. Right? And then there's a hardening of the heart. Like, guys, if you actually did a study, if you just typed in heart, there's so many mentions of heart in the scriptures. So if God's mentioning about the heart so many times, I mean, it's got to be very important. Right? Now, I'm not 100% sure about this garden and, the tree and this and that. I don't know. There's a lot there, guys. Is it metaphorically speaking? I don't know, to be honest with you. I don't know. In the midst of the garden, right? These two trees were in the midst. In the center. And then we went about talking about, how you eat dirt. The snake will eat dirt, and I brought it into flesh. And because God said that you came from the dirt and you will return to the dirt. There's a lot of stuff happening, but at the center of your universe, life or death, is the tree of knowledge death? Well, we have a tree of life, which is life. But is the tree of knowledge death? No, but in this case it was. It's not death to know, good or evil. The problem is, if you can't handle to do good, that's where it's death. Okay? So it's interesting how the conversation goes, in the midst of the garden, right? Like, in the midst of the garden? Is this just not symbolic, but there's more to it? Nevertheless, the truth is in all that. As Jesus said, many things, parables, but the truth was in those parables. He's trying to tell us something. One thing is for sure, you do the will of God, you're good. You do good, you're good. That's what God just said to Cain. If you do good, you're accepted. But when you don't do good, sin, not him. Okay? If you do good, you'll be accepted. When you don't do good, sin lies at the door, and it desires you. And then it's saying, and you must rule over him. So end that sentence. If you don't rule over him, you have transgressed, you have sinned, and now that you have sinned, you become sinner. Instantly. You become a sinner. Hence the explanation of Adam and Eve, how they hid and they were ashamed and they hid, right? And God covered them with the sacrifice. Because they were, in fact, sons, and they transgressed, and they literally, if you were to say transgressed, let me just change this right here. If they were transgressed, they essentially crossed the line. So you have son, and you have sinner here. And when they cross the line here, when this is God's line, don't cross it. That's what he said, don't cross it. The second that they took from that tree, they crossed the line. They now became sinners, not sons. Do you guys realize that this is the truth right here? One sin. They crossed over, they became sinners, not sons anymore. And what did God do? God still covered them. Well, he covered their sin. But it continued on. Yesterday or the day before, I was reading forwards. All the way to Noah. I was just reading. It's just like I was just too much into it. And then you can see the wickedness of man. You can see that the wickedness of man, right? And remember how I said that at the beginning? Take a listen. It said, cursed is the ground for your sake. So God cursed the ground for Adam's sake. And then with Cain, it was different conversation. Watch. And then it says, and thou art, and then he made the Genesis 4:11. And now art thou cursed from the earth. So with Adam it was cursed. I want to write, but I can't. It's okay. So we got Adam, and we have earth. And cursed is the earth for your sake. And then when we have Cain, you are cursed from the earth. He sent him out from the earth. You are cursed from the earth. That's a different conversation. And then he says, a vagabond will I be. Remember that Satan, if you look at Job, that's what he does. If you look at it, vagabond and all that stuff, if you look at the meanings, he said, a fugitive and a vagabond shall thou be. And then when I did it like a sort of a meaning on that, it would pretty much said someone who's just roaming around. I can't pull it up now. Look up fugitive. Let me see if there's anything to say. It basically came up with some kind of meaning. And both of them kind of said the same thing. It's very interesting. Runaway, deserter, refugee, person who has escaped from a captivity or is in hiding, fugitives. Okay, so anyway, vagabond. Let me see what vagabond is. Look up vagabond. A person who wanders from place to place without a home or job. Okay, you get it. You get the point, right? Wanders from place to place. Does this sound familiar? Cain is the seed that is produced by what Adam and Eve took place in. He is the fruit of the seed because he resembles his father. If you pay attention, a vagabond, everything God said, you are cursed from the earth. He sent him away. First, he cursed the earth for Adam's sake, and he destroyed the earth. If you read up forwards, you will see that it keeps going, conversating, and then it says, man is wicked. It said the sons of God picked for them the sons of daughters. Okay, there's a distinct difference here. The sons of God are those who continued in the presence of God. In other words, in the conversation with God and followed God. So Seth is a lineage, and down the line there, God's chosen people. Those are the sons of God. And then they picked, somehow they intermingled with those other women that didn't have the same belief system. And then those were the daughters of men. Okay? And they intermingled with them. And then the men of renown, etc. You'll hear stories of that this was angels and stuff like that. But I don't think so. Okay? There's the sons, and then there's men. Okay? Sons and men. Men are sinners, right? Sons are sons. Nevertheless, we're all sinners, but the conversation here is like sons of God and daughters of men. And you'll hear this conversation. And then what ends up happening is they took for them wives, and then some kids were born of them, intermingled, okay? And this was never to intermingle. As a matter of fact, if you look down at the descendants, the generations, Mary, okay, was the cousin of Joseph. So many times, and Sarah and Abraham, Sarah was actually stepsister, I believe, of Abraham. So they picked amongst the same clans, etc. They never intermingled, and that's what was happening. And wickedness was growing throughout the land. And then God cut. He said, it can't happen. I could go, should I? Let me continue here. Hold on a sec. All right, we know this. I'm going Genesis 6. The sons of God saw the daughters of men that they were fair, and they took them wives of all which they chose. And the Lord said, my spirit shall not always strive with man, for that he also is flesh. Yet his days shall be 120 years. Remember what I said previously? He gave a limit. There were giants in those early in those days, and also after that, when the sons of God came into the daughters of men, and they bare children to them, the same became mighty men, which were of old, men of renown. And God saw the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart, okay, was only evil continually. And he repented the Lord that he had made man on earth, and it grieved him at his heart. And the Lord said, I will destroy man whom I have created from the face of the earth, both man and beast, and the creeping thing, and the fowls of the air, for it repenteth me that I have made them. But Noah found grace in the eyes of the Lord. These are the generations of Noah. The earth was also corrupt before God, and the earth was filled with violence. And God looked upon the earth, and behold, it was corrupt. For all flesh had corrupted his ways upon the earth. And God said unto Noah, the end of all flesh is come before me, for the earth is filled with violence through them. And behold, I will destroy them with the earth. End of discussion. Now listen, I will destroy them with the earth. Cursed is the earth for your sake. Okay? That's the connection. I have to read up to understand this, because God destroyed the earth with the flood and everything that was on the earth. Why? Because the wickedness of man was too much. There would be no body left. So he had to curse the ground for his sake, so that he could live. Are you guys getting this conversation? Does this make any sense? Because you take certain words, if you miss them. He said, cursed is the ground for your sake to Adam. In other words, he's saying, I'm going to destroy the earth so that you could live. Because if I don't destroy the earth, right? And if I don't move the tree of life, not move the tree of life, move you out, then there's no chance or hopes for humanity. None. So if I move you from this garden, then there's no chance that you're going to live on and on. And he says right here, no way that my spirit will continue to live in men, because this darkness lives within them. The sin can't live with them, because that's not the game plan. I won't tolerate it. Now I'm going to destroy it. Cursed is the ground for your sake, Adam. If the ground wasn't cursed, you would be living on and on and on with this problem, or you would never have redemption. There would be no life for you. You'd be in this state of death, right? And then we have Cain, who was pushed out of the earth, from the face of the earth, and from the presence of God. That sounds like Satan right there. Not that Cain is Satan, because God is helping Cain, but what he is the fruit of his father. Okay? Because his father, there's no light in his father, only darkness. And what God's saying here is, listen, there's a war going on, Cain. If you do good, you will be accepted. If you don't do well, this dude, whatever he's in, the one that's roaming around, right, that wants to seek, steal, kill, and destroy, he and his seed that's already in the atmosphere, in your carnal mind, he's already taken over this thing. This thing is not even aligned with God's way anymore. And so you see visions, etc. And what's happening is he's sitting there waiting to pounce on you. His desire is for you, and he's going to make it look like this is the right thing to do. Just like he did with Eve. And she took a bite. And now what did Cain do? He got, what was it, a rock or something? And he just boom, killed him. And then, after killing him, he said, I don't know where my brother is. Am I my brother's keeper? And then when he got the judgment on that, and he says, cursed are you from the earth. And then he's like, oh, that's too much for me to bear. Oh, please don't. Interesting. There's probably more here. There's probably more here. But this duality, this dual reality, is not a reality. As one is virtual, one is real. So you have to understand what it is that is real. Now, before Jesus, there was no way out. This was truly a dilemma or a crisis. Okay? Saying, fight it. God says, fight it. You must rule over him. You must rule over him. But we can see that man is not able to rule over it. It just consumed him. And one had to come into play to rule over him, which is sin. And we have evidence of this in the temptations, or the attempted temptation, by where Jesus rejected, did never listen, never transgressed, never crossed the line. And in doing so, what's in him but light? No darkness. See, darkness is a problem. It's a virus, and it'll start to grow. This darkness is a virus, and it'll overtake you. But most importantly, it's identity. What are you? This is the most important thing. If you think what I'm saying is all a bunch of baloney, chances are you're a sinner and not a son. I'm just saying. If there's some hope in this message, and chances are you're a son. You ultimately, I would say, decide, choose. He's choosing you. So you can't really, in essence, it is up to you because you don't know what you are, right? I'm telling you what you are. It was written up here. All you are children of God. But if you don't believe that, then you are sinners. And what happens with sin is it continually places a burden on you. You become a slave of sin. So what does this mean? What does it mean? Think about it, guys. It's all being written down. If you're a slave of sin, that means sin is your master. And what did God say? You must rule over him. So he's saying that sin will master over you, and you must rule over him. But if you are a slave of sin, that means whatever sin wants to do, it does. Because you're its servant. Right? You're the servant of sin. And so sin wants more sin and wants more sin because it wants the only thing it wants to do is kill and destroy. Steal, kill, and destroy. Once it steals, and we could apply this to many things, steals your identity, gives you a new name, right? And we see evidence of this when the Israelites were placed underneath the Egyptians. You know what's really cool, guys, is that there's a genealogy. There's a genealogy, guys. If you look back, there's a genealogy of, this person, that person, this person. And they all come from the lineage of Adam and Eve. And then it even placed there where the Gentiles are. I forget exactly the name. One day I'll look at that, but there's so much. But that's where the Gentiles came from. That's Europe, guys. That's you know what I'm saying? That's us. But you can see the lineage of everything where it came from Adam and Eve. It's all in the book. It's all in there. All these names and stuff. And where, the sons and Canaan, and you know how they defeated Canaan, I believe, was Israel, but that's the name before. And it was the reason because it was the son of Ham, I believe that's his name, Ham, was Canaan, Ham was the youngest son, and Canaan. So these places that God is sending his chosen people, they're going into these lands and overtaking them. But this is all the descendants of Adam and Eve. It's really, really there's just so much evidence. There's no other books that come even near this. It just explains it all. If you actually were able to put it all on the board there, it'd be fascinating. So I was looking, like I said, I was reading, and then there's Noah, and then the flood came, and all of it was destroyed. And you have Noah, his wife, and then you have his 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and the other guy, I forget what his name was, Jupith, or something like that. It's okay. So those are his sons, and those 3 have wives, and then every every animal in pairs, except for, I believe, the clean animals, which were probably lambs and cows, etc. There were more than two. And then the story continues. So you have the eradication of flesh, and now you have God's chosen people that He continues the lineage. He continues it, and in that continuation, stuff starts happening again. And so basically, the story continues where Noah is now, husband, whatever you call it, husband, whatever of grapes. Like he's doing the grape thing, husband something. He's doing the grape thing or whatever, and then he gets drunk. I don't know, maybe he's just squishing some grapes or something. He drank some or whatever. He got drunk, and then he's he's in his tent naked, and that one, the young one, Ham, I believe that was him, either walks by or whatever and sees his dad, that's his dad, Noah, naked. And he didn't cover him. This is where I believe the cursed be Canaan, which was Ham's son. So take a listen. So he's seen his dad naked, right? Because he was drunk from the wine. He didn't cover him, but he went and told his two brothers, hey, cover dad up, because they're two of his brothers. So they grabbed the sheet and they went backwards and they covered. They didn't see his shame, okay, his private parts or whatever, and they covered him. And when he awoke, he realized that Ham, his son, I think it was his youngest son, he basically cursed. I don't know if this cursed is the proper word, but hold on a sec. Let me see if I can go up forwards. Give me 2 seconds, guys. Because this all relates. I'll take a note of this. Genesis 8, after God destroyed everything, he says, and the Lord, 8:21, and the Lord smelled a sweet savor. This is after Noah gave him sacrifice. And the Lord said in his heart, I will not again curse the ground anymore for man's sake. For the imagination of man's heart is evil from his youth. Neither will I again smite any more every living thing as I have done. While the earth remaineth, seed time and harvest, and cold and heat, and summer and winter, day and night shall not cease. Very interesting, right? We'll work on that eventually here. Hold on, we'll go here. It tells them to multiply and replenish. And then I just want to get to the part of who it was. I don't want to screw it up. Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And Ham, the father of Canaan, brought that up. Canaanites, remember they overtook them? So think about this. This is the beginning, and it spreads again. And Ham, the father of Canaan, saw the nakedness of his father and told his two brethren without. I don't know what that word without means, but essentially what happened here is that he told his brothers. He didn't cover him. Now that's the key. And Shem and Japheth took a garment and laid it upon both their shoulders and went backward and covered the nakedness of their father, and their faces were backward, and they saw not their father's nakedness. And Noah awoke from his wine and knew what his younger son had done unto him, and he cursed, and he said, Cursed is Canaan, a servant of servants shall he be unto his brethren. And he said, Blessed be the Lord God of Shem, and Canaan shall be his servant. Right? And Shem is the lineage of continuation down the line to Jesus. God shall enlarge Japheth, and he shall dwell in the tents of Shem, and Canaan shall be his servant. So Canaan shall be his servant. So because what the father did, Ham, what did he do? He didn't do anything. That's the point. So instead of covering his father's, right, after the drunkenness, instead of covering him, he went and told his two brothers, hey, cover dad up, will you? So instead of doing something, he did nothing. And his sons covered him up. And upon coming up from there, he says, you didn't cover me up? That's what he could have said. Why didn't you cover me up? Why did you tell someone else to come cover me up? Right? And so he said, because of this, Your son will be a servant to the others. Okay? And that's the story of, this is the continuing story, the saga, etc. Continuing on and on and on. Ooh, so much to speak of. Anyway, I'm going to end this real shortly. And Noah lived after the flood 350 years, and all the days of Noah were 950 years, and he died. And then it goes into generations. Genesis 10, you'll see all the generations. As a matter of fact, let me see if I can find it. Sons of Javan, Elash, and Tarshish, Kittim and Dodinim. By these were the isles of the Gentiles divided in their lands, every one after his tongue, after the families in their nations. Tarshish. I wonder if that's where Paul went. Tarshish or whatever. So these are all, like, again, this is where, by these were the isles of the Gentiles divided in their lands. This is where the history of mankind comes into play. Very cool. So much to speak of. Nevertheless, what does this mean? Like I said, there's no, you can break down to 3 words: trust in God. But you don't know God, so you have to understand Jesus to know God. So why are we going so deep in all this? Just to understand what exactly is happening here. But if you just take his words and say, if you do good, you'll be accepted, that's all you need to know. But when you don't do good, here's the critical point that I want to stress. Take a listen. This whole thing is about this. It is not so much that you are to serve God. It is this: if you do what is right, if you do God's way, you will be whole. You get it? Whatever he says, whatever God says, that's what you should do. Because if you do what God says, it is right with you. If you don't, you're going against yourself and God. We say you're going against God, but in essence, you're going against yourself as well. So they're it's going against you. Do you guys get it? So to understand it, why shouldn't we sin? Well, you shouldn't sin because sin is contrary to you. That's why. But it feels good. No. It's all temporary stuff. It's all like, that's it. It doesn't last. Therefore, it's not real. You see? It's a figment of your imagination. God's showing you the long, everlasting way. Okay? But it is a point like, I don't believe it. I don't believe, because you have this carnal struggle in you. And the thing is, and this will explain a lot of the conversations that you see on live streams with street preachers. When they hear the word of God, they don't want to hear the word of God. The reason why they don't want to hear the word of God is because the word of God speaks truth. And they're already on the sinner side. You get it? Their identity is sinner. So to hear the word of God is to confirm and rectify that they are sinners. They don't want to be sinners. But the truth reveals that they are sinners. And when you're a sinner, you're in need of a Savior. But see, they don't want to leave their sinning ways. So they're in this struggle and the dilemma. But if they actually knew who they were and where they came from, they would realize that the only way to live is to become one with God and become a son. That's it. This is how you were designed. This is your DNA. You were created in his image. Therefore, you should act like him. Why? Because you're in his image? No, because you are the same DNA. And if you go against that, it's a self-prophecy. Sin wants to control you. Its desire is to have you in total. And this relates, like you can take that conversation and relate it down to anything that Jesus says. He talks about devils, etc. How they've, possessed. How are people possessed? I still don't know, to be honest with you. I haven't got that far in terms of where devils come from, but nevertheless, how is someone possessed? Like, where are they possessed? Are they possessed in their heart, or are they possessed in their mind? But God says their wickedness. Hold on, let me see if I can, because I was studying the word heart. They are. I can't. Hold on a sec. Type in the word heart, guys, and do a search. You'll be blown away. The wickedness of man was great in earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. And there's other things like man is wicked in his heart upon youth, something like that. But listen, every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. So I gotta understand what that means. Because Jesus mentioned, hardening he mentioned, if the light in your heart is darkness, that's why there's light and then there's dark light, then woe to you, etc. In other words, not a good place to be. So I don't know if in fact demon possession, or like all this stuff that happens, was it a heart deal, or was it here? In other words, did they penetrate? And when we talk about conscience, like there's a subconscious, right? So conscience is what is in front of you. Subconscious is what's in behind that whole deal. So I don't know, to be honest, if this carnal mind thing, like I said, this for sure is the doorway whereby Satan penetrated humanity, for sure on that. I'm curious if this is the ground whereby they live in the carnal mind. It might be. But then there's not contradiction, I still haven't studied enough, between the heart. Because there's a struggle between the spirit and the mind. Okay, between the heart and the carnal mind. There's a struggle because the communication has to come from God to the heart, from the heart to the mind. The mind just does what it's told. But instead, the mind is telling the body what to do. The spirit is left out of that. Do you guys get that part? That's a for sure. The mind is guiding you. All right? Look at this. So you guys get it. The mind is guiding you and is bypassing the heart. So you're being led and controlled by the mind. And now it says right here, his desire for you, you must rule over him. It's almost as if I'm coming closer to the conclusion that this is where not only Satan, attacks us with thoughts and stuff, but once we accept this in this carnal mind, we are driven by the carnal mind, and that's where he controls us, if we allow him. Okay? And so when they are cast out, etc., I believe potentially it's coming out of the mind, not the heart. I'm not 100% sure on that. Why does this matter? I think it all matters when there's more understanding. I'm going to keep asking God because I want to know the truth. But he mentions the heart having imaginations, evil and wicked. So, there's a darkening. There's for Jesus to say, open up your heart. There's a term called hardening your heart. Hardening your heart is essentially making it stone, where it doesn't have a conversation anymore. God is not part of the equation anymore. You're just driven with your mind. Hence, atheists to take atheists to the 100th decibel %, whatever. That's someone who is just absolutely, there's no way. Now it doesn't mean he can't come to the truth, but it's just he's so focused. Mind, knowledge, worth. It's just completely here. It's just not even paying attention to anything else that does not make sense here. So that's someone that is just like they're not opening their heart. And this is the problem. So being born again allows God to speak in this beautiful place. See this. I'm just conflicting again with certain things, and I'm going to look into those things deeper, because why am I saying this? Because it just, to me, this heart, if the heart doesn't speak, you are a prisoner, because you are here. The Spirit of God is in your heart. Okay? That's the Spirit. And if you're not allowed to speak, right? If you're walking around, you're not allowed to speak, so therefore your heart's like, you just do. Look, the worst kind of people, the most evil, they have no heart. They just do things. They kill people. They steal. They take, like, there's no heart in the matter. It's just like, it's like they don't have any feelings, right? That's someone who's completely hardened, blocked off their heart. And in essence, that is who they are. But who are they really now walking around? Well, they're a prisoner of this virtual person who's walking around and doing all these criminal things. But that's not really who he is. Who he is trapped right here. He's a prisoner. Okay, and he's not connected. And all his instructions are coming from the carnal mind, and he's doing according to the carnal mind. He is a cold-hearted. That's another term we use, right? So his heart, this linkage here. I gotta clean this up here. This linkage that goes from heart to brain is broken. It's not here. Okay? It's not here. It's broken. So in essence, this linkage is going from God to the heart. It's the same that's going from this carnal mind to the heart. If this is broken here, this is broken here. And there's no connection. So when you do sin, you break this. I don't know how, but it breaks, and it breaks here. And now you have this identity crisis. And you call yourself a sinner. You know you're a sinner. You did wrong. And then all of a sudden, when those sins keep multiplying and adding, then you really do wrong. And there's no way out. There's no hope for you, right? According to the carnal mind, it's got you, right? Right? It's stolen your identity. It's killing and destroying you. And you doing things. And if you do something and you feel regret and remorse, that's it identifying itself. That's the Spirit saying, hello, help, help, help. I'm in this tunnel. I can't talk to you. You're not listening. Don't do this, right? And that's the dilemma, the problem, the crisis. So this can only be fixed when the strong man comes into the house and he cleans up shop. And that's where Jesus comes into play. And our belief in him, God connects these two, and then it just overfills the heart with the Holy Spirit and your spirit. And now there's no, this linkage as well is mended. And now the carnal mind has no choice but to listen. Right? Where was I going with this? I just keep going. There's nothing else to talk about. This is the stuff that's happening in the background, and that's the stuff I'm asking for. Because this is really simple. You find anyone that's in the lowest point in their life, and you bring them to Christ. They got to understand. If they don't understand, it's very easy. There's no understanding apart from Christ. That's it. Which means, wherever you're sitting, it's all a lie. You see, everything that you believe, it's the same thing I did to the girl today. It's the exact same thing. It doesn't matter who it is that you run across, it's the same conversation. If you're at this low point, that's a good sign. That's a very good sign. You're coming to discover that the world will feed you all kinds of stuff, and no one's on your side. There's no one. Okay? But there's only one, whereby he's asking you now, he's basically placed all these things in front of you for your day of redemption. It's sad. It's sad that that's how we choose it, but that's essentially how many of us choose it. And so you lead them to the king. And the king will do his thing. And all this stuff happens inside them. I just want to get that kind of fruit. I want to get a little bit more information. I want the good stuff, right? So this starts making sense. I want to take this carnal mind that's confusing people, and I want to confuse it, right? Because this thing is a barrier. Think about it. If this linkage is not there, and this linkage is not there, what's going to require this person to change from sinner to son? Well, first, they can't do it unless it's supernaturally done, but what's going to require is it's going to have to run across all kinds of different negative impacts, negative things, in order for this carnal mind to start questioning and being uncertain. If this thing starts being uncertain and questioning, right, this is an opportunity. It gives the heart here some strength. It gives this spirit of you some strength. And when this completely breaks down and says, I've done it, I'm done, I've had enough, that's when this spirit has enough juice, right? Your life has enough juice to call out to God. And when that's done, it's a done deal. That's it. That's the only thing we need to do is just lead people to God. That's it. Right? After they get God, we definitely want to bring them to FLOh because it just helps them to guide them in the doctrine. This will be part of the doctrine, but the doctrine is, it just goes and explains it about the carnal mind, the struggle, how you must not accept anything that is evil, how you must take every thought captive. These are all parts of Scripture. They can do all the searches they want. This is all part of it, right? Take every thought captive. What did God say? You must rule over him. So he's giving you the ammunition. But the most important thing is you're not condemned by that sin anymore. That sin cannot tell you. See, he wants to, what did God says? He wants to rule over you. But you must rule over him. His desire is for you, but you must rule over him. And so when Christ is in you, he's done. There's nothing else. You only got one king. Done. His desire is to what? Rule over you? How can he rule over you when the King of all kings is in you? It's impossible. You see? It's impossible. He does nothing. He will again now try to come at this, but you have the power now in you to say, no. Are you kidding me? That's when I was stupid and I believed your lies. Okay, but I'm a son now. I'm no sinner. Didn't you sin yesterday? Listen, you don't understand. The sin does not give me the identity. I am a son, and I will continue in this. You don't have to tell me what it is. You want to condemn me, right? The conscience, this awareness of what's in front of you, dissipates. This does not become a conflicting obstacle anymore. It just becomes this: shut up and do what you're told. It's not like deciding for you. It's not saying, hey, turn left, turn right. It's not saying nothing. It's being told to shut up and do what you're told. Step out right now. Talk to that person. But I don't want to. Shut up. You have no say. You must rule over him. That's what he's saying. The carnal mind, the way God designed it, was perfect. Perfectly designed. It wasn't evil. There's no evil in it. But the freedom of will, is not subject to God's law, nor can it be, because that freedom of will had to be part of the deal. And devil, Mr. Satan, took it upon himself to go in through that door. And he did deceive many. And many believe that they are sinners. And many believe that their identity is worthless. That there's no such thing as God. So they're being told all this and all these lies. And this is the back door that he used. But God came in through the front door. Jesus says, I come through the front door. I am the door. He says, I come in and I'll make a house in you. And nothing will overtake you. And now our heart, filled with the Holy Spirit, is now telling the mind, this carnal mind. Christ's mind is telling this mind to shut up. Very simple. And now you start to flow. Now God starts to flow in you. And what does he do? He overtakes you. Same thing that he's saying here. He wants to rule over you. His desires for you. He wants to overtake you. He wants to consume you. Right? Same thing. God does it the right way, though. God wants to consume you. He wants to overtake you. Right? For the good. But you can't reject it. And you can't listen to this. So there's a struggle here. Between here, if you let it be a struggle. If you don't, then you just, and how do you base this? You just keep coming to these live streams, watching videos, reading the book, right? Reading the book, opening the Word of God, and just keep living in that Word. And that Word is enough and sufficient to tell you all truth. But the Word that's living inside you will guide you and teach you all the day. And when you get a little bit down and low, He is the comforter. And apart from him, we as well. That's what we're here for. So that's what I want from FLOh, guys. I want people to come to FLOh, not to come to be condemned. I want them to come to know truth. I want them to come to be saved. I want them to come to be disciplined. I want them to come to learn who Jesus is. I want them to come to follow in Jesus. This other stuff that we talk about is just like bonus activities, and it's still not solid. When it's solid, it's like, boom, I'll be able to describe this like this. Okay? But I want us all on the same page so that we can help one another as we grow. Again, what's the fruit of this? Obviously, the fruit of this is you doing good. That's it. It's not you sinning. That's contrary against you. You know this already. So it's you doing good, doing the will of God. That's the end result of all this. Okay? And how? With the fruits of the Spirit. Gentleness, love, kindness, all that will start coming out of you. It'll be the true revelation. But it doesn't require all these little details. But if some of you want to know the details, we're digging in so that we have these little details to explain this. Otherwise, just trusting God and you're good. Trusting God is not fighting against sin. It's not fighting against sin. It's moving closer to God. We have that union now. They didn't have this before Jesus. Now we have that. You know, we have that. And that strength is stronger than anything else that exists out there. Okay, guys, I got to go. Again, nice one. Nice talking to you guys. God bless you. Any input would be awesome. I don't have the... Again, anyone watching this, here's the design. Take a note. Shoot your phone with this, please. Shoot your phone and see if it goes to where the subscribe button comes up. Just point your phone camera at this. Click it. Take a picture, or you don't even have to take a picture. It'll automatically go on the top. You'll see. Open it. It'll go to the channel and see if it'll show you to subscribe. So maybe unsubscribe or sign in from another account if you got it. Test this out on your phone. See if it will take you to the subscribe button of the channel. And then place in the comments your result. Okay, that's what I really want to know. And if this is truly how it's done, if it works, it's just a matter of taking a picture of this after and having on your phone. And when you lead someone close to Christ, or maybe you share with them that you're a born again follower of Christ, and that if they want to know more, you can say, hey, you got a phone? Take a picture of this, and then you say, look, there it is. Boom, click on the top, and they will subscribe to this channel. Once they're subscribing to the channel, then they're able to get this information and ask questions. That's easy. That's 2020, guys. That's the year we're in. We can do all this stuff like this. By the way, FLOh.life, I noticed the cost of Ethereum has really dropped, guys. If you guys were thinking of... let me see what it is now. Oh, it doesn't show here. Hold on a sec. It went down to $146, which is, well, depends on how you look at it. Is that good? Well, yeah, if you're buying, it's good. For some reason, it's not popping up what I need to do here. I believe it's 140. Why is this not popping up? BP, if you're watching this, I don't know if it's just my browser. It's not. I can't. I can't put one FLOh or whatever. One equals whatever. It was like 140 something dollars. Great time because I don't know if it's going to go down anymore. I'm not God, right? But chances are it's going to go up. That's what I feel. Anyway, till next time, take care. God bless.